Listen for the woodpecker. Hang on. Listen for the woodpecker. You're going to have to be a little crooked today, sorry. I hot rolled my hair. Okay, so today's porch chat comes from the porch down here. You're going to hear the creek and birds. My mother talked to me into hot rolling my hair, so. Woodpecker. Do you hear it? Where's it at? Oh, it's up there. Do you hear it? Okay, so today's porch chat is going to be kind of another subject about when we talked about manipulation and how auditory, woodpecker's not going to shut up now, how auditory manipulation can happen because each side of your brain and each ear takes in a different resonance. So your left ear is more like it composts the noise and separates it and tells you what it is, but your right ear is more emotional. It's tonal recognition. That's why you can pick out your loved one's voice in a crowded room or pick out your horse's hoofbeats and whinny 4 fields away. It kind of goes along with that. So Noam Chomsky, which I don't always agree with, but he has some good ideas sometimes. He calls what social media and the internet are doing. It's turkey season, so everybody's kaboom. He talks about what social media and the internet is doing as it's like manipulated consent or something like that. And so he defines that as the upper class that control the money, that control the media, are controlling what the lower class and poor and uneducated are being exposed to, and therefore they control their reality. Because even if you live in a rural area, you still have to try to understand what's going on in the world. And if you only have 2 or 3 media outlets, then they can control what they tell you. So even on some of the individual platforms like YouTube and Rumble, you still find people that are trying to manipulate that consent because they are still parroting what the other media outlets are saying. And what was it? Noam Chomsky, I can talk, also said that like education was like the best tool for ignorance. The education system in America was like the best tool for ignorance he had ever seen. I agree with him 100% because it's recitation. That woodpecker's not going to let me live today. He's like, I'm going to make every video you do horrible. But he said that the education in America was like the best tool for ignorance he'd ever seen. And he's completely right. I spoke about this last week, how the American school systems are set up like factory workers and prisons. Because you're going to be in one of 3 places in your life. You're either going to be in school, in a job, a workforce, or in prison. Those are the 3 big places you're going to be in life. Most of us are probably going to be in school for most of our life and working. But then some are going to be in prison. Look at your job, look at school, and look at prison. And look how they're all set up on the timetables, on the time clocks, similarly. How people are placed and assessed together, similarly. How people are managed, mismanaged, have similar consequences. Look at it. So what he calls this is managed or manipulated consent. And that's really what it is, because you're not able to make an informed decision because you don't have all the information. You have what is being presented. You have what is being offered by the people that own the news stations. But the thing is that the hierarchy of those that own the news stations are also in political factions. And so they're there for political gain. And so the system is corrupt from the very top. Basically, if you monetize anything or you financially amplify any political position, you screw it up. Because then the goal changes from civil servant in society to wealth and self-promotion. So I think that's a lot to take in. He's also got a book about like 5 principles um, to this manipulation um, that they gain their consent from. It's really interesting because if you think about it, in the 80s, the news, some of them were already purchased and bought out, but they would still ask the hard questions. Like when Tucker Carlson went to Russia not too long ago. Did you know that he was threatened and didn't think he was going to get back in the USA? Do you know that in the 70s and 80s, and well before that, and even after that for a while, um, I have to look around for bears every once in a while, sorry. And even after that, journalists went all over the world to go speak to leaders about wars and about issues. And that was called journalism. It was called, we need to tell the Americans what's going on in the rest of the world, because the rest of the world affects the rest of the world. We all are interlinked. Um, it's a ripple effect. And so that's how we stayed afloat, and how we had so many different opinions and viewpoints and perspectives, because there were a lot of reporters that put themselves in dangerous places, and I appreciate them. They don't do that anymore. But Tucker Carlson did. He put himself in a place to ask somebody that has the ability and is looked at as the person that's going to cause the end of the world, which I think is silly, because normally the person you're focused on, there's someone over here that's 10 times worse. But Tucker Carlson went to speak to him because he thought the American people deserved to hear straight from Putin. Which, yes, I want to hear the man talk. And when I heard the man talk, I didn't hear a lot of extremism. I heard a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. Um, I could feel that there had been a lot of mismanagement in communication. And I could tell that he was frustrated that certain things were not being upheld and certain policies were not being practiced that were agreed upon. And these things stretched back. I mean, he did the whole timeline. It stretched back generations. So that was very important information for the American people to hear from Putin himself. That they wanted to imprison Tucker Carlson or charge him with treason for doing that. That's what journalists do. They give us other options and other viewpoints. But Noam Chomsky was right. Education is the best tool for ignorance, because the education systems are built to treat you and train you. Oh, what a beautiful butterfly. To treat you and train you to be a worker, a student, a worker, or a prisoner. Because those are the three societies we basically have in this area. One thing that irritated me about Noam Chomsky last year, he was really upset about India's leader, his opposing leader that was challenging him for leadership of India. He got mad because he's like, they imprisoned him, and that was horrible, because that's not right. People should have the choice, and you can't make and create these falsification and not allow the people to have the right to vote. But he said nothing about what's going on in America now about that. But last year he was all up in India's business about how that leader had put his opposition in prison. And so it makes me wonder if maybe he's even paid to not speak about certain things, and perhaps he is an educated tool. I don't know. I'm still going to look at everything and read everything, but it makes you wonder. But it's manipulated consent. It's where you get your news, how you get your news, how you compost and digest your news. And we are trained now to accept it from only 2 or 3 sources, to question nothing, and to think that they're telling us the absolute truth. But if you watch the major news stations, they will, they rarely tell stories anymore. They rarely tell journalistic endeavors. They go straight for emotional creative stories. And so they're milking the emotion of America very much. And they're milking the race war very much. They're milking culture very much. But I'll tell you the only inequality that lives truly in America, and that is economic inequality. And that is sometimes regional, but it can be overcome in almost any way. That was a cow, sorry. It can be overcome in almost any way. But that is the real only inequality in America, is economic inequality. And a lot of that is just from the rural to the urban areas, the differences, the businesses, the opportunities. The cows are balling big time this morning. But there are ways to overcome that, but they're not taught in school. You're not trained to exceed your expectations, to promote yourself. You're trained to work a shift. Even if you go to school and become educated, you're trained to work a shift, to do a job, perform a simple task, and not go above or beyond. If you go above or beyond, you get slapped. Even if it was a good thing, you get slapped. If you don't do your job as well, they would rather have someone perform poorly that they can control than to go beyond expectations that they think they can't control. And so education is something I look at that has to be challenged, because education is good, but education that is used to make you think that you have parameters because of the color of your skin, or the color of your eyes, or where you live, or the size of your body, or, I mean, it's just stupid. And I believe that a human being that sets themselves up to want to accomplish something can accomplish it if they desire to. And I'm a little redneck from Tennessee that has gone and got my master's in psychology, and worked in like forensic psychology in the penal system for a decade, and I also dealt with a youth in state's custody and youth in juvenile justice, social service, wilderness prisons for about another 3 or 4 years before I had a neuromuscular disorder take me out. It's much like MS. So the one thing I learned was that they didn't like high performing workers, because those people had expectations, and they held their expectations also to the other workers. That created a bad climate, because they didn't want everyone to succeed. They wanted everyone to mesh and just do what was asked. I would rather be in a position where everyone wants to succeed and exceed. I want to see people excited about what they're doing and want to put more energy as opposed to less. But employers like to see middle of the line or low functioning employees, because those employees never question, never argue, never cause a juxtaposition, and never recognize any of the wrongs that occur. And they never report anything. So they allow the higher ups to manipulate them. Heifer, I'm trying to talk. And they allow the higher ups to manipulate them. The higher ups keep getting more money and better positions, while the people that they tell just settle for this keep doing the work. And I just believe there's more to life than that. And if we're not asking ourselves to grow and exceed and succeed, then what are we doing? Ruby's sneaking up on me. I'm just gonna tell you. Do you want to say hi, Rubes? You want to say hi, Rubes? Say hi. Give me sugars. Thank you, Ruby. I love you. You not been in the river, right? You don't stink. Okay. So it's like this dog. I would love this dog even if she was an idiot, but she is such a great dog that she chases off coyotes and bears and keeps the farm safe. So I love her even more, because she exceeds at what she's supposed to do and is successful at what she does. And she also loves us. So I really look at her and say, you are an exception to the rule. And I love exceptions to the rule. But if she was dumb, I would love her the same. But I would have less respect for her, because I'd be like, you have the ability to keep this farm safe and you're not doing it. But this dog exceeds, so I love her even more. I would think that managers and owners of corporations would look at people that way, but they don't. They want you dumb so they can treat you like a dog. Ruby doesn't get treated like a dog. Ruby's a princess. You are the bear running, coyote running princess, aren't you? You keep all the cows safe. You love everybody. Yes, you do. You're just a tweetums. You're just a tweetums. Yes. So Ruby, let Ruby be an example to you. She was born a dog that could tree a coon or a squirrel. She takes care of a huge cattle farm and runs bears and coyotes off. And we love her for it. We love her for it. Exceed. And then succeed at what you want to exceed at. And challenge yourself. And don't allow people to manipulate you into complacency. Oh, high five. She gave me a high five on that one. I know. That was a good one, wasn't it? And make sure that you challenge the world, because this is the only one you get. Challenge the world. Ask the hard questions. Make them answer them. Because I would rather be yelled at for wanting to know more than patted on the head for wanting to know nothing. So think about it. They're trying to manipulate and create consent by dumbing you down and making you think that you don't deserve answers to your questions. Ask them all. Ask them all. Tomorrow we'll get to more of the sock part of this, but that's all I had to say today. Thank you for porch chat this morning. And would you like to see where I am? You gotta see this dog right now, though. The dog sunbathing. She's like, I did my job this morning. I'm sunbathing, but I want you to step here. I need some sun this morning, so I have to be careful on my legs. They're not doing so great. Look, the river's just a pouring, flowing where we had so much rain. Oh my gosh. There's a dogwood blooming back here. Dad's got his Trump flag up. I bought it for him. There's a dogwood blooming back there. You know, and I don't always disagree with people that are different political factions. Like Chris Cornell was a diehard Democrat. He even protested Trump when he got in the first time before Chris Cornell passed away. I actually think he was killed, but that's just my prerogative. But I still thought that man was a blessing. So boxes. A person is not one box. A person is a multitude of boxes, and you can't cram them into just one. Stop trying. Appreciate people for what they have to be appreciated, and you can have disagreements and still respect somebody. You can love people and not like them some days, and you can like people and not love them. But anger over their own opinion they get to have? Really? So, but don't be manipulated into consent because they're dumbing us down and they're telling you you don't deserve to know. Exceed and succeed at whatever you want to exceed at. And there's a heifer running down here. I don't know what her problem is. My brother's turkey hunting, but he's way on the backside. She's just bawling she's just a bawling and throwing a fit. I don't know what's wrong with her. Her baby may have run off and she ain't found it. But that's normally the hamburger lot. Now it's running up the hill. But anyway, if you look back there, there's a really old chimney back there. Old chimney from an old house. But look at this beautiful place, y'all. I'm very lucky to have a place to go to be safe when something like this has happened to me. So, and if you don't know, you'll have to go back and watch some of my videos. But that's porch chat for today. I'm going to put my hair up and get some sun. Bye, guys.